The psychology of being taken seriously at work. Why competence alone never guarantees respect. Some people enter a room and are believed before they offer evidence. Others bring experience, preparation, and good ideas, yet somehow remain easy to interrupt, question, and forget. This is not simply confidence. It is signaling. Before people understand what you know, they respond to how you carry what you know. They notice whether you rush, whether you apologize before making a point, whether your sentences arrive as conclusions or requests for permission, whether you seem to believe your own presence requires an explanation. And once you understand those invisible signals, you can change the way a room receives you. Not by becoming louder, not by pretending to know what you do not know, not by turning every conversation into a contest. You become harder to dismiss by removing the small behaviors that quietly teach people to dismiss you. This is the psychology of being taken seriously at work. Chapter 1. The two conversations. Every workplace conversation happens twice. The first conversation is obvious. It concerns the proposal, the deadline, the customer, the budget, or the problem that brought everyone into the room. The second conversation is silent. It asks different questions. Who is certain? Who is waiting for approval? Whose time appears valuable? Who can be interrupted without consequence? Who seems to understand the larger picture? Most people prepare only for the first conversation. They collect facts, improve the presentation, and rehearse answers. Then they enter the room, assuming the quality of the idea will speak for itself. But ideas do not speak for themselves. People speak for them. Imagine two analysts presenting the same recommendation. The first begins, "Sorry, this might be a little off, and I'm probably missing something, but I was just thinking that maybe we could move the launch." The second says, "I recommend moving the launch by 1 week. Two dependencies remain unresolved, and releasing now creates more risk than waiting." The evidence may be identical. The social meaning is not. The first speaker has asked the room to inspect the speaker. The second has asked the room to inspect the recommendation. That distinction matters. When people feel uncertain about how they will be received, they often place disclaimers around an idea. They believe these disclaimers make them sound humble, cooperative, or safe. Sometimes they do, but repeated too often, they create a frame. This statement may not deserve your full attention. The solution is not to eliminate uncertainty from your language. Intelligent people should acknowledge uncertainty. The solution is to place uncertainty precisely. Do not say, "I'm probably wrong." Say, "The strongest evidence points here, although one variable remains unresolved." Do not say, "This may be a stupid question." Ask the question. Do not say, "I'm not the expert." Say, "From the operations side, the constraint is time." Precise uncertainty sounds thoughtful. Vague self-doubt sounds like surrender. Being taken seriously begins when you stop confusing humility with self-erasure. Chapter 2. The signals before the sentence. People begin interpreting you before your argument begins. They hear your pace. They notice your timing. They register whether you finish a sentence cleanly or allow it to dissolve. They sense whether a pause belongs to a person thinking carefully or a person hoping someone else will rescue the moment. Research on vocal confidence has found that changes in speech rate, pitch, and intonation can alter how confident a speaker appears and can influence persuasion. This does not mean there is one perfect voice. A pace that sounds energetic in one person may sound anxious in another. A lower pitch may sound grounded, or it may sound artificial. The goal is not to manufacture a character. The goal is control. Control means your pace serves your meaning. Most nervous speakers accelerate through the sentence they most need the room to understand. They reach the conclusion and immediately add more words, as though silence might expose them. Try the opposite. Slow down before the important point. Say the conclusion. Stop. The pause tells the room that the sentence is complete. It also prevents you from negotiating against yourself. Consider the difference. The deadline is Friday, but obviously, if that doesn't work, we can probably move it around, and I know everyone is busy. Now hear this. The deadline is Friday. A pause. If a dependency makes Friday impossible, tell me by noon tomorrow. The second version is not cruel. It is usable. It gives the listener a standard, an exception, and a next action. Clarity often feels like authority because clarity reduces cognitive work. When people can process your message easily, they do not have to search for the point, guess what you want, or decide which part matters. Your communication feels more reliable because it is easier to hold. This is one reason rambling damages more than attention. It transfers the burden of organization from the speaker to the listener. If you want to sound more authoritative, do not begin by trying to sound impressive. Make yourself easy to understand. Chapter 3. Stop narrating your insecurity. Many capable people do something peculiar when they are under pressure. They narrate the pressure. I'm nervous. I didn't have much time. This is still rough. I'm terrible at presentations. They say these things to lower expectations. If the performance goes badly, there is an explanation. If it goes well, perhaps the achievement looks even greater. But the listener cannot unknow the frame. Once you announce that the work is weak, the room begins searching for weakness. Once you say you are unprepared, ordinary pauses look like evidence. You have instructed people how to interpret what follows. Preparation should happen before the meeting. Self-evaluation should happen after it. Neither belongs in the opening sentence. This does not require dishonesty. If the work is genuinely incomplete, name what is incomplete. Say, the financial model is finished. Legal review is still pending. That is information. This whole thing is kind of rough, is emotional fog. The same principle applies when someone challenges you. An insecure response often becomes a biography. You explain what you meant, why you said it, who gave you the information, how busy the week has been, and why a reasonable person in your position might have made the same choice. The longer the explanation grows, the more the room begins to suspect there must be a larger offense hidden inside it. Use the minimum complete answer. Why did you choose this vendor? They met the security requirement and could deliver 2 weeks earlier. Then stop. If another question comes, answer that question. Do not answer 5 accusations that nobody made. Over-explaining is often an attempt to control every possible interpretation. But it creates the opposite result. It makes the speaker look less certain and gives the listener more material to question. You do not need to provide the entire history of your reasoning to prove you had a reason. State the decision, state the basis, remain available for questions. That is enough. Chapter 4. The architecture of a strong point. A serious message needs structure. Without structure, even a good idea can sound like a collection of observations. The listener hears several true things, but cannot tell what decision they support. Use a simple architecture. Conclusion, reason, evidence, action. Conclusion: we should delay the launch by 1 week. Reason: the payment failure creates unnecessary customer risk. Evidence: it appeared in 4% of yesterday's test transactions, and the cause is not yet isolated. Action: give engineering 3 days to fix it and 2 days to verify the result. This structure works because the listener always knows where the conversation is going. Notice what is missing. There is no long runway, no account of every meeting that led to the recommendation, no invitation to guess the conclusion. Many people believe they must reveal their thinking in the order it occurred. They begin with Monday's email, move to Tuesday's spreadsheet, describe Wednesday's call, and finally arrive at the point. That is how an investigation unfolds. It is rarely how a recommendation should be delivered. Lead with the destination, then show the road. This also changes how interruptions affect you. If the room interrupts after hearing your conclusion, at least the central idea is present. If you hide the conclusion until minute 4, an interruption at minute 3 can erase your contribution completely. When a topic is complicated, offer a map. There are 3 issues: cost, timing, and customer risk. Customer risk is the deciding factor. The map creates anticipation and tells people that your thoughts have edges. Then, when you finish, finish. Do not weaken the ending with, "So, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking." End with the decision, question, or action. My recommendation is to wait 1 week. Which risk are we willing to accept? I need approval by Thursday. A sentence earns authority when it knows why it exists. Chapter 5: Interruption, Recovery, and Social Weight. Being interrupted does not always mean you are being disrespected. Fast-moving teams interrupt. Excited people overlap. Senior leaders may compress conversations because time is limited. But patterns matter. If people repeatedly interrupt you and you repeatedly abandon your point, the group learns that your sentences are optional. The answer is not to fight for every syllable. It is to recover the floor calmly. Use one of 3 responses. Let me finish this point. I'll come to that in a moment. Or, after the interruption ends, returning to the decision we need to make. The tone matters more than the phrase. No apology, no visible offense, no burst of speed. You are not asking whether your thought may continue. You are continuing it. If the interrupter has identified a genuine misunderstanding, address it briefly, then return to your structure. Yes, the estimate includes implementation. The larger issue is adoption. This demonstrates 2 kinds of control at once. You can absorb new information, and you can preserve direction. Now consider the opposite problem. Some people become so determined not to be interrupted that they stop listening. They treat every question as a threat to status. Their communication becomes rigid, and the room may comply without trusting them. Authority is not the absence of challenge. In healthy teams, speaking up matters. Research on psychological safety shows that people contribute more readily when they believe questions, concerns, and mistakes can be raised without punishment. A leader who silences every challenge may look powerful while making the team less intelligent. Your goal is not dominance. It is social weight. Social weight means your contribution does not disappear the moment another voice enters. You can listen without evaporating. You can be questioned without collapsing. You can disagree without turning disagreement into personal combat. The calm return is one of the clearest signals of professional confidence. You were interrupted. You are still here, and the point still matters. Chapter 6. Visible value without self-promotion. Hard work is not always visible work. You may prevent failures that never happen. Repair relationships without announcing the damage. Simplify processes so thoroughly that nobody remembers they were once difficult. Then review season arrives, and the person who speaks most confidently about 3 accomplishments appears more valuable than the person who quietly produced 12. This can feel unfair. Sometimes it is. But visibility is not vanity. It is part of professional communication. Your manager cannot advocate for value that remains undefined. A team cannot repeat a contribution it cannot name. The answer is not constant self-promotion. It is evidence tied to outcomes. Do not say, "I worked incredibly hard on the migration." Say, "The migration finished 2 days early with no customer downtime." Do not say, "I've been doing a lot behind the scenes." Say, "I resolved the 3 recurring handoff failures and reduced the weekly backlog from 40 cases to 11. Effort deserves respect, but outcomes travel farther. Build a simple record. Each week, note the problem, the action, and the result. Include numbers when the numbers matter. Include praise from customers or colleagues when it reveals impact. Include risks prevented, not merely tasks completed. Then communicate progress before someone must request it. A concise update can say, "The project remains on schedule. Testing is complete. One security issue is open, and the team expects to close it tomorrow." That update does more than transfer information. It tells people that you see the whole field. Reliability is a status signal because it reduces uncertainty for everyone around you. The colleague who repeatedly clarifies what is happening, what matters, and what comes next becomes a point of stability. Over time, people begin looking toward that person before decisions are made. Not because that person demanded attention, because attention placed there has been rewarded. There is a useful discipline for making this visible without becoming exhausting. Call it the 3-line update. Line 1 names the present condition. Line 2 names the remaining risk. Line 3 names the next event. The client approved the design. Contract language is the only open risk. Legal will return its revision tomorrow. 3 lines can do more for your reputation than a page of activity. They show that you can separate motion from meaning. This discipline is especially valuable when the news is bad. Weak communication hides a problem until certainty arrives. By then, the team has lost the time it needed to respond. Strong communication does not create panic, but it does not hide uncertainty. Delivery remains possible, but the margin is gone. If testing fails tomorrow, the date will move. That sentence is serious because it gives the room an honest picture without manufacturing drama. You do not need to arrive with every answer. You need to know which answer is missing, why it matters, and when it will arrive. Chapter 7. Calibrated Confidence. Confidence becomes dangerous when it outruns knowledge. Some speakers sound decisive because they remove every sign of uncertainty. They make predictions as promises and opinions as facts. This can be persuasive briefly. Eventually, reality presents the invoice. The strongest professional confidence is calibrated. It distinguishes what is known, what is likely, and what remains uncertain. The customer will approve this is certainty. The customer approved the same structure in the last 2 negotiations, so approval is likely is calibrated confidence. The second statement is not weaker, it is more defensible. Use 3 levels. When evidence is strong, say, "The data shows." When evidence is incomplete but directional, say, "The evidence suggests." When you are offering judgment, say, "My assessment is." This language allows you to be direct without pretending. And when you do not know, say so cleanly. "I don't know yet. I'll confirm by 3. That answer often creates more trust than an improvised explanation. But there is a hidden requirement: return by 3. Admitting uncertainty signals strength only when it is connected to responsibility. There is also a difference between changing your mind and losing your position. If new evidence appears, say, "That changes my recommendation." Do not disguise the change. Do not defend an obsolete idea to preserve the appearance of consistency. Serious people are not expected to be permanently correct. They are expected to respond seriously to reality. This is why credibility compounds slowly and can collapse quickly. Every accurate claim makes the next claim easier to trust. Every clean admission of uncertainty protects the claims you make with confidence. Every promise kept teaches people that your words predict events. Eventually, people take you seriously before you have finished speaking, not because you learned a trick, because your communication developed a history. Chapter 8. The Practice of Presence. You do not become harder to dismiss by memorizing powerful phrases. You become harder to dismiss through repeated moments of alignment. Your words match your evidence. Your pace matches the importance of the message. Your confidence matches what you know. Your promises match what you deliver. Begin with 5 practices. First, remove the apology that does not belong. Before your next meeting, choose one sentence you would normally begin with "sorry," "just," or "maybe." Say it directly instead. Second, lead with the conclusion. Before you speak, finish this sentence silently. "The one thing this room needs from me is..." Then give them that thing first. Third, use the pause. After your most important sentence, stop for one full breath. Do not explain the sentence merely because nobody immediately answered. Fourth, recover the floor. If interrupted, listen for the useful information. Then return. Coming back to the decision. Calmly, without punishment, and without disappearance. Fifth, close the loop. If you promise an answer, send it. If you name a deadline, meet it or communicate early. If you make a recommendation, remain available for the result. These practices look small because status is often built from small evidence. Before an important meeting, use a 90-second preparation ritual. Write the decision the room must make. Write your recommendation in 1 sentence. Write the strongest reason supporting it. Write the most reasonable objection. Then prepare a clean answer to that objection. This ritual prevents a common mistake: preparing everything except the moment of resistance. Many people sound confident, while the room agrees with them, and become disorganized the instant someone pushes back. If you expect thoughtful resistance, a question no longer feels like an ambush. During the meeting, keep a small note in front of you containing only 3 words: conclusion, evidence, action. If the discussion wanders, those words return you to structure. Afterward, ask one question. What did the room need twice? Perhaps they asked twice for the number. Next time, place the number earlier. Perhaps they asked twice what you wanted. Next time, make the action explicit. Perhaps they questioned an assumption you treated as a fact. Next time, label the assumption. This is how presence improves, not through vague commands to be more confident, but through observation. You notice where meaning became weak, and you strengthen that point. The room is always learning what your presence means. Does your voice mean the conversation will become clearer? Does your recommendation mean the facts have been examined? Does your commitment mean the work will be completed? Does your disagreement improve the decision, or merely increase the temperature? You are answering these questions every day. There is no need to perform importance. The person performing importance is often asking the room to supply what the work has not yet earned. Instead, become precise, become prepared, become calm enough to let a finished sentence remain finished. Respect other people's time by knowing your point. Respect their intelligence by acknowledging uncertainty. Respect your own contribution by refusing to bury it beneath apologies, disclaimers, and unnecessary explanation. Some rooms will still be unfair. Some leaders will reward familiarity over merit. Some cultures make speaking up costly, especially for people whose authority is questioned for reasons unrelated to competence. Communication cannot repair every broken system, but it can reveal the difference between the obstacles around you and the signals coming from you. That knowledge creates choice. You can stop teaching people that your ideas are optional. You can stop presenting your competence as a rumor. You can speak with humility without shrinking, confidence without theater, and authority without aggression. The next time you enter a room, remember that two conversations are taking place. Bring value to the first, and in the second, do not ask permission to exist. Let your clarity introduce you.